Good day, everyone. Today, we will discuss about the homeostatic control system in mammals. I am Mr. Ong from College Tingkatan 6 Seliputra. In this video, we will explain the importance of homeostasis to organisms and describe the homeostatic control system in mammals. In these analogous examples, home heating system, a person turns on the thermostat, to produce the heat. The temperature in the room will be, the change of the temperature in the room will be detected by the thermostat. If the thermostat detects the change, the increase in the temperature in the room above the set point, for example, 28 degrees Celsius, the thermostat will turn off the furnace so it doesn't produce heat, so that the temperature in the room can be decreased. Once the temperature in the room decreases below the set point, for example, 28 degrees Celsius just now, below, let's say, to the 27.5, for example, the thermostat will turn on the furnace to produce heat. So this mechanism, turn on and turn off, is repeated once the temperature in the room is deviated, from the set point within a narrow range. So this is the diagrammatic that show the thermostat just now. When the temperature in the room, this is the normal temperature in the room. When the temperature in the room is too high, so the change in the temperature room, not the room temperature, the temperature in the room is called stimulus. So this stimulus will be detected by the sensor in the thermostat. Then the sensor will send the data to the thermostat, which is the control. In one part we call the control center. So let's say the set point here is the 20 degrees Celsius. So that means the stimulus, the temperature in the room is above the 20 degrees Celsius, the set point. Then it will direct the furnace to turn off so that no more heat is produced. Once the temperature drop to the set point, which is the 20 degrees Celsius, and continue to drop below the set point within the narrow limit, for example, 19 degrees Celsius. So this becomes another stimulus, becomes another stimulus to be detected by the sensor. So the sensor will send the will send the signal to the control center, so to turn on the furnace to produce heat. So this process, these mechanisms, is continuous. They are repeated, according to the change of the temperature in room. So these mechanisms also occur in mammals body, in the sense of regulating body temperature. The external environments of an organism may vary greatly, even over a brief period of time. To survive and function, animals must regulate the internal condition within normal ranges, especially the cell activities and the biochemical reactions that occur within the cells that are sensitive to the change of temperature. So such internal conditions are body temperature, blood pH, blood pressure, composition of the tissue fluid such as blood sugar level, partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide, water potential, and solid potential. Cells, tissues, organs, and organ systems coordinate together to maintain appropriate conditions in the body. That means all the organ systems they found in human body, they coordinate together to maintain a homeostatic balance, okay, in our body so that the cells can function effectively. The balanced internal environment is referred to as homeostasis. And the control processes that maintain these conditions are homeostatic mechanisms. So we can start with the stimulus, which is the change, okay, of internal environmental factor. It will be detected by the receptor. And the receptor will send the nerve impulse, or we call it signal, to the control center. Then in the control center, they have the set point. Okay, for example, the body temperature. Human body temperature set is as 36.9 degrees Celsius. So once this stimulus then deviates, okay, from this normal limit range, okay, within the narrow limit, they mean the small deviations. So it will trigger the receptors to send the signal or the nerve impulse to the control center, which is the central nervous system. And then the central nervous system, there is a control center, okay? For example, they found in the hypothalamus. So was send the signal or the nerve impulse to the effectors. So the appropriate effectors will provide an appropriate response, okay, to correct the what we call the internal environment. So this is what homeostatic mechanisms occur in our body. The homeostasis is a basic concept in physiology by which an organism maintains its internal environment in a steady state. So this internal environment is the fluid medium, okay, that bathes the cells and tissue in the body. So together with the transport medium in the organisms. Actually, the internal environment never really stay the same, but they are fluctuate continuously within the normal narrow limit. So that means it is a dynamic equilibrium. For example, you can see this body temperature. So they are deviated, okay, they are deviated within this normal narrow limit, okay? So that means this is the normal level, but it's within the, this is normal level, but within the narrow limits. That means very small change for the range, okay? So it is a dynamic, like just how, for the analogous examples. So it is a dynamic equilibrium. That means up, down. So within the normal narrow limit. So it is considered as a homeostasis, and it is known as a steady state here. Okay. Mammals have complex homeostatic mechanisms that maintain relatively constant internal condition despite changes in the outside environment. So this is another example. This is by using the air conditioner, especially for the students from Asia and our country. So we are more familiar with the air conditioner rather than the heater. Okay. So like once you turn on the aircon in a room, so in the beginnings, the temperature in the room is higher than the set point, okay, in the aircon. Okay, let's say we set the aircon at 24 degrees Celsius. So, but the temperature in the room is, let's say, is 29 degrees Celsius. So from here, the control center, okay, the sensor that detect this temperature, okay, the increase in the temperature in the room. So they will send the signal to the control center, which is a thermostat. So the control center, then they will turn on the compressor. Okay, so the compressor will start to produce cool air. So they try to cool down the air temperature in the room. Okay, so once the temperature in the rooms below the set point, let's say just now the set point is 24 degrees Celsius. So now let's say it's below it 23 degrees Celsius. So the sensor will sense the change, okay, that below the normal limit, okay, normal level. So the sensor will send the signal to the control center so that the compressor is turning off. Then once the temperature in the room that increases from the 23 degrees Celsius and reach the 24 degrees Celsius, which is the set point, and just above the set point, let's say 25 degrees Celsius. So this change, or we call a stimulus, will be detected by the sensor, and the sensor will send the signal to the control center, so to turn on the compressor and to cooling down the room. So from here you can see the once you turn on the aircon in a room, so the temperature in the room they are fluctuate, but in a narrow, in a the set point are within the set point with a narrow limit. Okay, stimuli is a plural form of stimulus, the singular. Okay, changes in the internal or external environment. Okay, environmental factors that affect normal condition within the body. So they will affect the internal environment, okay, in the body, continuously challenge the homeostasis. So this is the stimulus. Then the affected internal condition that deviates from each homeostatic range. For example, body temperature easier. So either it's too high or too low, okay, causes stress that are precisely regulated by homeostatic mechanisms. Okay, as we discussed just now, so everything starting from the stimulus, receptor, control center, and effector. The effector will give the response. So this response, they will provide a negative feedback loop. So the homeostatic mechanisms, they work as a feedback system, and most homeostatic mechanisms in the bodies are negative feedback system. So in a negative feedback system, a change or a stimulus is in some steady state, for example, normal body temperature, trigger a response that opposes the changes. Okay, yeah, if the change in the normal body temperature, so they will trigger the response. So this response, they will oppose. That means they will counters the change. Like just like say increase, so they will try to bring the body temperatures down, okay, and returns to the normal temperature. A receptor detects the stimulus. Okay, a receptor detects the stimulus. For example, like here, they increase, so it'll be detected by the receptor or sensor. Okay, and then the receptor or the sensor signal an integrating center, okay, or the control center. So normally in the what we call the central nervous system, okay, brain or spinal cord. All right. Then based on the input of the receptor, the integrating center or the control center, they will activate appropriate homeostatic mechanism, okay, by sending signal on the nerve impulse to stimulate or inhibit, okay, or inhibits the activity of a particular effector, okay, so that the effector can produce appropriate responses, okay, to bring what we call the change, okay, of the internal environment factor returns to normal level. So the response counteracts, okay, they counteract the inappropriate change, which is the stimulus just now, okay, by restoring the steady state. and restoring the steady state. Okay, now we look at the negative feedback system. For example, when body temperature decreases below normal limit, decreases below the normal body temperature, the thermoreceptors detect change and signal the thermoregulatory center. So thermoreceptors, they are found in skin and also in hypothalamus. Okay, so the skin, the thermoreceptor found in the skin, they detect the change of the what we call the temperature in the external environment, whereas the thermoreceptor in the hypothalamus, they detect the core body temperature, for example, the blood temperature. So this thermoreceptor, when they detect the change, so they will signal the thermoregulatory center, which is found in the hypothalamus. Okay. Then the thermoregulatory center activate the effector. Okay, they activate the effector, for example, what we call the skeletal muscle. Okay, skeletal muscles that bring the temperature returns to set points. So the skeletal muscle, how to bring this what we call the body temperature return to the set point, since the what we call the body temperature is decreasing. So it's through severing, which is the contraction of the skeletal muscle. Okay, so the returns of normal body temperatures, okay, they already returns to the normal body temperature. So they signal the thermoreceptor and the thermoregulatory center to reset the effector, so that the body temperatures could not increase, okay, above the set point, okay, or too high. All right, because here is they're producing the heat is produced, right? Okay, so they continues to increase the body temperature. So if this what we call, they don't have the negative feedback, so our body temperatures will continue to increase. So another negative feedback mechanism is when the glucose concentration in the blood decreases below its normal level. So when the blood glucose concentration decreases below its normal level, so negative feedback system increases its concentration, return to the normal level. Okay, same. So they will go through the what we call the glucose receptor, will detect the change. All right, and then the glucose receptor also found in the pancreas as well. Then this the alpha cells, okay, of the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas will secrete glucagon. Okay, so the glucagon is circulated, okay, so is circulated to the liver. Okay, and then the liver cells will break down, okay, or hydrolyze the glycogen, okay, into glucose. Okay, via the glycogenolysis. So then the glucose are released into the blood circulation, so to increase the blood glucose level to normal. So once the blood glucose level returns to the normal concentration, so these will inhibit, okay, the alpha cells to produce glucagons. Okay, otherwise, through this negative feedback system, otherwise the alpha cells of the idea of Langerhans, they'll continue to secrete glucagon and then continue to increase the blood glucose levels above the normal level. Okay, so far the two examples that we discussed are known as the negative feedback system. So in our body, we also have a few positive feedback systems. So for example, a deviation from the steady state set off a series of changes that intensify the changes. So they will increase, okay, let's say they increase a certain internal environment factor, so they will continue to increase that factor. Okay. Although many positive feedback mechanisms are beneficial, so but they do not maintain the homeostasis. So to maintain homeostasis is the negative feedback system or mechanism. So for example, the positive feedback system is they operate during the birth of a baby. Okay, so once the baby's head they push against the cervix, so a reflex actions that causes the uterus to contract. So the contractions forces the head against the baby's head against the cervix again. So this will what we call the provide a positive feedback. Okay, because a signal was sent to the what we call the posterior lobe of pituitary glands, okay, to release oxytocin. So more oxytocins will be released and then to cause or to trigger the contraction of the uterus. So to push the baby out again during delivery, baby delivery. Okay, so that means the more the baby head press against the cervix, so the more oxytocins will be released. Okay, to trigger or what to call to stimulate the more contractions of uterus muscle. Depolarization, as you study in the nervous system, okay, depolarization also is another example of the positive feedback system. Okay, because once the depolarizations occur, if they reach the threshold level, so they will cause more what we call the voltage-gated sodium ions channels to open, so that more sodium ions can influx, okay, into the exoplasm. So to further depolarize the membrane and what we call the produce an action potential. Okay, some positive feedback systems, such as those have the circulatory shock following severe hemorrhage, so can disrupt the steady state and lead to death. Okay, so this one, when you have the severe hemorrhage, okay, but due to the what we call the drop of the blood pressure, so your heart will pump harder. So that means your blood try to increase the blood pressure, but this time you are having this severe hemorrhage, so that means there becomes what we call the worst. So and then at the end, it will lead to death. Okay, so from here we already explained the importance of the homeostasis. Okay, so and also describe the homeostatic control system in mammals. So that's all for this video, and thank you very much.